Oh my. Oh my.
You are now tuned in to the Revolution Radio Show.
Yo, what it is and what it do? You're officially tuned into the Revolution Radio Show on 102.3 FM, KCAA in the Inland Empire, worldwide on the NBC Radio Network and on the iHeartRadio app. As always, I am your man's J Love, a.k.a. Uncle Jiggy, joined every day by Farron, the statesman himself. Farron, how are you doing?
I'm great today, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Man, you real mellow right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we got Intern Lilian. Intern
What's up,
Lilian.
everybody? How's it going?
Guess who's
Doing
back?
great.
Guess who's back?
Yeah, hold on, I gotta get it ready. But today, ladies and gentlemen, the folks online can check it out. But those of y'all in your cars, you don't know what's happening. You can't see. But we got a special guest in the building today, and I'm gonna give him the horn. Ladies and gentlemen, he is an entrepreneur. He is a marketer. He is a jack of all kinds of trades. He is a prophet. It's in his name. Ladies and gentlemen, show some love for that dude all the way from NYC, Prophet Link, ladies and gentlemen.
Praise God.
Welcome.
How you doing, sir?
Stand up.
The BX, the boogie
up.
down, boogie down. How you feeling today, sir?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm super excited. I was hype all day about this, had this in mind to get settled in and chime into the conversation with you guys.
Yeah, so we do it a little bit different here. It's gonna be ridiculous, okay? So it's gonna be super ridiculous. And so let me just so in case people don't know, it's Tuesday, July the 27th in the year of our Lord 2021. And before we get into all the matters at hand, real quick, Intern Lilian, I know we have a very important news story. What's going on today that we need to chime in on and talk about?
Today, there is a big thing going on about Simone Biles and how she has opted out of the gymnastics finals, and it's because of mental health issues. And she's said it very clear that it's not because of injury, it's because of her mental health. And she's taking this time to just step back and have a self-care day.
Well, okay, first of all, shout out to Simone Biles. Shout out to her because hands down, y'all need to bow down to Black Girl Magic. She is absolutely the GOAT. She already got 5 gold medals. She already got 25 world championships. She do moves that can't nobody do. They got to name them after her. She don't need to compete no more. You know what I mean? But I'm glad you brought up this story for this. And here's where I want you gentlemen to chime in. A lot of times.
She's only 24.
Yeah. Very
that's a whole nother thing.
It's just like, we are feeling like a disaster without her, and we were hoping for her to come back. But it's like you can't put that pressure on the girl. She needs to take her own mental health.
Well, here's the thing. So many times, and like I said, I want y'all to chime in on this. And here's why I wanted to talk about this. We get confused. Like, I am ambitious. Okay, I'm very ambitious. I believe in success. I believe in pushing and striving and wanting more and wanting to do more. But at the end of the day, it's very easy in our society and in our culture to lose sight of what really is important, what really matters. And we're in a time in history where we're finally able to discuss mental health issues, right? Depression, all of these things, especially when it comes to communities of color, because historically, we've really not talked about this stuff, right? And we act like people are something wrong with people if they have an issue. And the truth is that there's tons and tons of, I can name, I'm not going to, but I can name people right now who most people in the public eye would deem as being successful that internally are struggling today, like literally today, that are barely making it from day to day. Like because they're good at what they do, they can put on a smile, right? And they're good at what they do. So as you know, the Bible says your gift will make room for you. So people will just be in awe of them simply because of their gift. But internally, they're dying. And I think more than ever, I think it should almost be a mandatory thing. And I know this is hard to mandate. And I'll say this and then please chime in. But I just think we really should be like, hey, you do this for just, I'm going to give a random number, 9 months. And then we need you to chill for 3. We need you to make sure, because you can't give from an empty cup, right? You can't. You are more important than your accolades. You are more important than the things that you can achieve or whatever amount of money we think you can make. But I just think that because of this, especially in an Instagram world where everything is about fronting for the gram, people feel this pressure that isn't even real. Like Simone, you probably ain't gonna hear this. I be thinking my show's the top show in the world, but whatever. But
Hey.
Simone, if you hear this, yo, baby girl, we love you. We already proud of you. You ain't got to do nothing else. And most importantly, God is proud of you, and you don't need a trophy for him to be excited. So that's my take. How do y'all feel? I'm gonna go with you first, Mr. Prophet Link.
Hey, well, praise God. First of all, to be able to be bold enough to openly state that and not come up with some, kind of excuse or reason or controversial reason is big in and of itself, right? And to hit it from a biblical perspective, it makes sense, right? God wants us to enter his rest, and that applies to every and anything, any aspect of what work or laboring is, right? I think what happens society wise is that we detach fame and entertainment from labor and work.
Right.
It takes a lot, right? Like if like when people realize that, like a public speaker, right? A public speaker or a pastor that's preaching a sermon on a Sunday, it could be a 30-minute sermon, but the level of preparation that goes into that, and then the energy that's exerted from that 30-minute message is equivalent to 8 hours of manual labor.
Yeah.
Now, forget about the fact that pastors are usually preaching multiple times on a Sunday, right? And then you got the Thursday night prayer, and then you got, right? Like, so not even adding to these other things. So just to this point, I digress. It's absolutely necessary. And I think it's the most valid reason, not an excuse. It's the most valid reason to take care of oneself holistically, and digress from labor and work. Like that, man, Olympians, you know how much training they go through? Like the discipline that's involved with that, it's insane. It's insane. No normal person can handle that workload, labor, going back to labor, right?
Yeah.
So you have to rest.
Actually, go ahead, Farron, first before.
Oh, no. Shouts out to Prophet Link. You said it how I would start it off as the boldness, right? That's a way of being. It took her a way to be, to find that courage to say, you know what, 20-second timeout, I got to take a break. And for me, it's how I discovered it for myself is the experiences of life and the activities of life, and they're together, but they're separate, right? So you can do all she could train and do all that stuff, but if she's not handling her experience of her life, what's going on at home, what's going on in her own personal, like whatever that is, if you don't manage those together, this is what happens. You like, hey, it could be a professional athlete. It could be, like you said, somebody who's just dealing with life. If you don't take care of that experience of your life just as much as the stuff that you do in life, you're going to have that battle. And if she's dealing with depression, then she's dealing with some past information, some past stuff that's going on. If she's dealing with anxiety, then she's living so far in the future that is the future of uncertainty. So just depending on what she's dealing with is how, she has to figure out how to start to manage that.
Well, the reason I had Prophet Link say anything before we really did a proper introduction is because I wanted y'all to see how dope this dude is. See how he just jumped in, like what he said was poignant. You know what I mean? I gave a very brief description, but brother, for those who don't tell, because you do a lot of things. Tell us what you up to these days, because people really know, because there's people listening to the show right now that need to connect with you, like you to connect. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always use a lot of street terms. Y'all know on the street, you need to, there was always that one
plug.
Dude you know what I'm saying? That dude that like, hey, if you need the thing, that's, you know what I mean? That's the dude. You got to call, you know what I'm saying? My man's, he got, you need it, he got it, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You need a size 12, bow. That's Prophet Link. I was fortunate enough to meet him recently. You know what I'm saying? And I'm blessed. I hope I can say this truthfully, but we were able to cultivate a friendship. You know what I mean? If not, I'm gonna bug him anyway, so it don't matter.
No, you can say that.
But brother, Tell us what it is you're doing and what you up to, man.
Oh man, that's one of the most dreaded questions ever. It's like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, oh my God, where do I start? It really depends. It really depends on the circle and who I'm talking to, right? And what the relevance is. But first and foremost, I'll say this. I'm a chaplain, so chaplain Michael Alvarado. So I'm a clergyman. First and foremost, I'm a bond servant. I'm a husband. I'm a father. Of 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls.
Shout out to the children.
Praise God. And I've been married for now 12 years officially.
Hey, big up to marriage. Big up to marriage.
Happily and joyfully married for 12 years. And man, as far as what I do, I guess the evolution of that is just traumatic upbringing, right? I was born in Harlem, technically, right? Mount Sinai Hospital, but raised in the South Bronx. And the longest story short, right, going through so many traumas up until the age of 18, being pronounced dead twice on the operating table, and just being raised by a deaf adult. So I know American Sign Language. That was actually my first language. Okay. That kind of bred in me this kind of natural advocacy, right? Like I was naturally bred to be an advocate because I had to learn and process deep levels of information and translate that for my mom. So I kind of raised my mom being a single mom, because
that's heavy, man.
You know, most deaf people have a 3rd grade level of education, especially with how things were when she was growing up, you know, in the 70s. So anyway, being a teen mom, having me at an early age, not having too many role models and examples, that led to a very traumatic adolescence. And I didn't, you know, my life didn't change and really turn around till I was 20 years old. Had a dramatic, radical experience with the Lord. And then I devoted my life to working with high-risk youth and formerly incarcerated individuals. So that is like the summation of where my heart is and my passion for sharing the gospel and building family restoration. So I got my education and my work in social services and kind of the nonprofit sector world. But now, as far as business, I started out as an artist and just made all the mistakes because I raised by hip hop, raised by hip hop. So I started off as an artist and made all the mistakes that you can make as an artist, because as an artist, you got to have merch. You got to have music. You got to put music out there, right? It wasn't the best music, but I put it out there, right? And then I was booking shows, I was doing speaking engagements, and I was doing my thing. But early on, I realized that just wasn't, you know, the trajectory for myself. Being married and having young children, like I'm not doing tours. I'm not going to be doing none of that. So it's not something I can really focus on. So shout out to the homie Joe Boss. That connection, and when I really got delved into the world of Christian hip hop, is where I got introduced to podcasting and radio and being kind of a public figure. Even though I was already kind of handling social media for a huge influencer right now, it goes by Marcus Stanley. That's my bro in real life. His story's crazy. He's toured with like Chris Brown and crazy, like huge ministries, musician. Anyway, that launched me into the digital space and different experiences and collaborating and interning. Shout out to Lilian, the intern. That's how I got my start in the digital marketing space. Yeah, and I saw it was a need. I saw it was a big need. Like I don't need to be in the limelight. I don't need shine. I don't need to build a platform this way. I want to be an asset and build to others. So my heart and my passion really became Acts 2:42. So all the resources, everything I learned, making all the mistakes as an artist, then putting out merchandise, then fulfilling merchandise for others and organizations and stuff like that. And then what I learned from digital marketing, becoming certified as a social media marketing ad agency, I put forward and kind of pour into anybody that encounters. So there's so much more I can attest to that, but I feel like I've been going on for a little minute. So that ultimately, I'm a creator, I'm a consultant, and I'm a catalyst wherever God placed me.
So that's super dope, man. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to get you connect, but it wouldn't be this show if I didn't say something absolutely insane. I have a very ridiculous and inappropriate joke about the whole that whole death situation is dope to me, by the way, right? And
it's dope that I died twice.
No, I said deaf, like the,
deaf.
you know sign language. My nephew is deaf, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I never I got ADD, man. I tried to learn and I started throwing crip signs and it was over. You know what I mean? But I remember this is what I was when you told me that, the first thing that popped in my head is because my nephew actually graduated from a deaf school out here, right? He went to a school out here, really amazing school out here. This they got a football team, basketball, the whole, I mean, like it's a really dope school, right? Kids come from all over California to go to the school.
Yeah, we ain't got that over here in NYC at all.
So he had a little girlfriend at this school, right? So like all the kids at the school were deaf, right? And he was like arguing with his girl. And I said, so I said, my man, you have the greatest situation ever, right? And he was like, because he like, what are you talking about? I said, yo, when you argue with your girl, all you got to do is close your eyes and be like, I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you.
I'll be so mad. I'll probably pry their eye open.
Ridiculousness.
That might have not been the best advice. Deaf people violent, bro. They got rage and anger like none other.
So yeah,
just close your eyes. I ain't listening to you.
Yeah, just close your eyes. Like, yo, whatever she yelling about, just be like, yo, I can't feel you right now. Needless to say, his girl didn't like me. His girl didn't like me. So, but yo, man, because here's the thing: there's a lot of people that listen to the show that want to, in some form or fashion, either learn about the industry, get involved in the industry, get deeper in the industry, man. And so, and especially, we kind of talked about dealing with artists and different things. So this question always comes up. So I got to throw it your way. What would you say is the number one piece of advice you would give to somebody who says, I want to be in, whether it's an actor, singer, because it's all kind of meshes, I want to do this with my life. What do I do?
Well, the number one thing is to count the cost of that lifestyle that you are trying to embed yourself into. And it's not even the lifestyle that you want to live. That's a whole nother question, right? Because it's the lifestyle you're trying to acclimate or kind of place yourself into. Is counting the cost of that. Very early on, we realized, although, praise God, God used me performing and rapping to get us diapers. Right. I remember one time I went to go perform at a church. It was a hookup. It was one of my mentors, actually, to this day. Shout out to Minister Kwame Thompson. Funny story. He used to be down with Money Boss Players back in the day before he got saved. Right. Wow. Talk about sex, money, murder. Right here in New York City. Right. Anyway, he had me preach at his church, and there was no honorarium agreed. I just went out because I felt led of the Lord. Yes, I'm gonna do this. I got a word. I'm going to speak to the congregation and to the young people. And they gave us, my wife was there with me. We had the baby in the carrier, and they raised an honorarium of $250. And literally that day we had used our last pamper. And my wife was expecting for us to go get some diapers right after. She didn't know we was broke and I didn't have it. She didn't know. I mean, she knew afterwards, but I'm saying at that moment she didn't know. She was just expecting. Okay,
look, only a husband understands. Only a husband understands that like I gotta tell her. I'm gonna wait like 7 minutes. I'm gonna wait like 8 minutes before I say something. And like I'm gonna say something in 9 minutes. I think that's the right time. Yeah, to break the news that. See, the way our check-ins and our savings is set up.
It ain't set up.
and the way the pending transactions hit, even though I was tracking it, it kind of hit off and hit us with some fees, right? But
I want to reiterate what you said about the cost, right? Because for me that registers as the consequences. And a lot of people don't really understand that when you make these kind of choices, life, career, you got to look at the consequences and what you're giving up, what it's going to cost you. And a lot of times we don't know to ask those questions. We just think, I'm just going to go do it. So I appreciate you.
No, it's poignant, man, because I say this all the time because, like you, I started out as an artist, made every mistake and then some, right? I think I invented a couple of mistakes you could make.
Probably.
And you know, and I tell this to people who, you know, and this is one of the first things that, and I told Lilian, you know, as far as like, yo, pay attention, because here's the thing. When it comes to, say, being a doctor, right? You know, this is the path, right? Like, I'm going to go to school for this many years, then I'm going to go to graduate school, then I got to get my internship, then hopefully I'll get it. So, you know, like you said, you're counting the cost. Like, you know, for 12, 16 years, I'm going to be broke, like broke. Like broke. Attorney, like architect, you know these things. What happens is in this industry, right? Because it's so much the beautiful land of make-believe. Right. And because I remember working at labels, and, you know, and I've worked at major labels and have everything from major, super major labels to had my own tiny little bitty independent label, right? Everything in between. But I remember being at a major label and seeing an artist pull up in a car that was leased for them, right? To turn in jewelry that they borrowed for a video, to then turn in the clothes that they borrowed, right? To then go to the parking structure to get their Toyota because they were just in a video with one of the biggest producers on the planet. And the rest of the world, like their friends, cousins, neighborhood, whatever, thought like, yo, you paid now. You do it. You was with whoop-de-wop. And the truth was like, this dude can't even afford to buy lunch.
Yeah.
And they don't understand. Like I say this all the time, like, yo, you have to look at this thing and read what you said was poignant. Count the cost. Like, I am the CEO of my career, even if I'm signed or even if whatever. And I have to know that in order for this to work, I'm going to have to invest in this thing. There's no way around it. Like,
which is insane, because it's like you're counting the costs and the sacrifices that you need to make to even go into that. You're knowing, you're going to have a level of poverty going into it, but you also need money and funding to support that, right? Because I had to get to the venue, right? I had to get to that place, even if that was the arrangement and the setup, right? And it's different depending on which field, what you're getting into. But counting the cost really goes even past just finances, because I think people think automatically, okay, counting the cost, how much is this going to cost me to book a flight to go here, to work with this producer, to do this, right? What to
are you willing to take the bus,
right? Right. They think about financially, but also just time wise, right? Because it also it meant if I was going to perform in certain places at certain times, I was leaving my young wife at home with the babies by herself. So now I am a part of that cost was spending and sacrificing my wife's mental health, right? And sacrificing my relationship with my wife, right? Because now I get home, I'm all hyped up. Man, the Lord did this. I ministered to this person. They found this so dope. I was vibing with the people. And she's just like, man, I cleaned up 3 poop explosions and I haven't even eaten dinner yet. Like, did you even consider or think about? Because then it's those.
Yo, but I had Roof Chris though. They took me to Roof Chris afterwards.
And yet you forget. Oh man.
Yeah. No. And to add to that, in some instances, like I remember there was times where I worked the overnight shift in order to do my hustle. Right. So I'm either coming from work to the show or leaving the show to go to work to do that whole. I was Mr. Hey, and then now, you know what I'm saying? I got to put on the thing, put on the vest, and now I'm pushing the, you know what I mean? And coming down from the, you know, the reality of like, wow, I was important for like 3 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite lines from Bizzle, he talks about, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut it.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
One of my favorite lines from Bizzle, I can't remember which project he spit it on. It's probably the last one, but he said, "Dog, I was up in Walmart with a scan gun for the canned goods. I could rap good, but I did what I had to do for the fam." That's manhood, right?
Yeah.
Like, so he's got a rap career and he's famous to people. Like, he's made it, like you said. Like, he's got some kind of aspect of or achievement, perception of success. But he was in Walmart scanning stuff, right? He was literally wearing that vest, right?
Yeah.
but there's so much to it behind the scenes. I mean, the second part of it is also understanding the business, right?
Yes.
Most people don't understand the business aspects of it. And this goes back to what we were both saying, J Love, is like, we made all the mistakes and that's how we learned the lessons that we learned. But you cannot go into any level of entertainment or business or any industry period without being knowledgeable of the industry, right? There's certain jargon that's spoken, like it's a whole language for certain industries, right? You got to know that, because if people's talking that language around you and you don't understand what's going on, you're gonna get left behind, you're gonna miss opportunities, or you're just gonna you're gonna be taken advantage of, right? That's that aspect of it. Then if you don't understand the actual like the business end of stuff and how to monetize what you're investing in, whether it's your blood, sweat, tears, and or actual finances, then you're never going to get a return of your investment, and you're bound to fail. So that's like the second follow-up part of counting the costs and then understanding the actual business.
And if I can throw something else on top of that, and this is one of my, to me, one of the most important and one of my pet peeves, right? And here, this is, I always say I turn into the old angry Negro. These young people, they, you know, but somehow it's a mixture between the old angry Negro and Bill Cosby, because I be like, they eat all the Jello, put in pops, they're gonna eat the put in pops, but it's really being able to be open and teachable, right? Like, I'm not trying to pick on a whole generation, but and I'll say this in double form. So number one, I think I will admit that my generation has failed the generation beneath us, right? Because we didn't teach them. We didn't disciple, mentor, whatever terminology you want to use. We didn't grab a hold of them and give them tools and do what we were supposed to do in terms of passing the baton. That being said, it is difficult to teach, mentor, disciple, whatever term you want to use, someone who is not open, someone who is not prepared to listen, to learn, and to understand that this is one of my biggest sayings that I always say. There is a process to everything in life, right? I call it the Mr. Miyagi, the Mr. Miyagi syndrome, right? And it's like, you cannot go straight to the dojo if you ain't waxed the car first, right? Like, you can't go, you got to learn to wax the car and paint the fence. You can't bypass the process. And the process don't feel good. The process is garbage in most cases, right? Like, or it feels like it, I should say. The process is like,
smells like it too.
We not going nowhere. What are you? You know what I mean? No, but we are though. Where are we going? I can't tell you that.
Right.
Right. And it's that whole dynamic of like, because we grew up with OGs, right? So we knew that, like, we didn't question the OGs. Like, if the OG says something, just that's what he said. Like, why are you doing it? I don't know. He told me to do it. Later, we figured it out, right? But this generation, like, if you don't explain it to them in complete detail, break it down with a chart, with some graphs, give them an outline of how you're going to get from here to here and how that makes sense for them in a prudent amount of time that they will approve of, they're not trying to feel nothing you say. You know what I mean?
And it's not only that, just because their attention span is just like getting shorter as well, because at least in the younger generations nowadays, are like just always on the phone, like, oh, okay, scrolling. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I'm bored. Now, next thing. And so it's like when you're sitting down and learning something, it's like you might not always grasp it all because they might be thinking about something else. Like, I don't know, like these social medias, like TikTok or whatever, it's shortening the attention.
So are you saying I bore you when I try to teach you stuff? Is that what you're saying, Lilian?
No, I'm not saying that.
So if it's not a 15-second TikTok, J Love, you better shut up. That's it.
I want to add something to what you guys are saying, because for me and the next generation that might listen to our show, it's very important, because what you're describing to me is most of us live in a do, have, and be. I got to do this, and then I'll have this, and then I'll be the artist, right? And then you do all that and have all that, but do you ever really experience being the artist? No, because you got all the do and have stuff going on. So what I learned was to kind of rearrange that to be, have, and do.
That was kind of deep, Farron.
So, right? So you go. So if you want to be a rapper,
you got to drop some on that one, Farron.
So you want to be a rapper, then you got to be the rapper, and you got to go do what rappers do. And then you got to be honest with what results do you want to produce? Is it the money? Is it the fame? Is it so you got to be honest with what you want as a result. So when you're being a rapper and you're doing what rappers do, you might have to perform in front of 2 people. You might have to perform in front, you got to write your rhymes. You got to go to the studio, write that same energy. And then if you don't produce those results then you can go back and say, well, was I being the rapper? Yeah, I was being it. Well, did I really do what I was supposed to? Nah, you know what? I was playing PlayStation that night. I could have took some more time out to do some more stuff around my craft. So that maybe that wasn't what didn't allow me to produce that result. So then you continue being that rapper and doing what rappers do until you get to the results that you want to produce. But a lot of people in our society live it's like we say, mind, body, and soul is like, it's so out of order. It's so out of order. So I learned that if you be it and you do it and you have the result, because if you do it, have it and be it, you don't really experience it fully as being that whatever job it is. It's not just a rapper. It was being a soldier, whatever job you pick, you have to declare that this is who I'm going to be. And then you got to do whatever it takes to do. And like you said, go and talk to people who are rappers and find out what was your consequence. What did that cost you to do that? Oh no, yeah. Okay, well, let me go back and figure out, can I do that? Oh, I can handle that. And then you apply that. So I appreciate you guys, man.
What? Absolutely. That's why I never sold anything more than weed back before Christ, because I was scared. I was watching the OGs, and I hung out with them, and I could have easily got swept up in it. I could have easily got swept up with them, but just kind of thinking of that aspect, all jokes aside, definitely you learn, you observe, and that kind of goes to another thing too, is just continuity and being genuinely yourself. I think that was one of the most freeing things for me personally, and that I've seen as I've helped others kind of come to that conclusion, is that when you're genuinely yourself and you discover your identity, which you can't discover your identity without really learning and knowing who created you, right? Because every creation has a creator. I had to plug that in there. Like you can't really know your purpose and who you are, what your identity is, unless you know who created you. That's a sidestep, but and you operating in who you are, and you kind of learn your characteristics. You kind of learn how your experiences, your traumas have molded and shaped you to operate in a certain way, and to be be right, like you said, being is so freeing. It allows you to enjoy and actually reap the fruit of everything else that you're a part of.
Yeah, no doubt.
So dope. Oh,
why you muted?
Why you muted, bro? Wow, you got so excited. J-Love put himself on timeout.
Put himself on mute.
No, I'm sitting here saying whole sentence. It's funny you say that, because there's a lot of people that really don't enjoy the journey, right? Because they get lost in all of these other things. And one of the most, I tell people all the time, one of the deadliest things you can do is fall into the trap of comparison, right?
Oh yeah.
You start looking at your trajectory or your spot or your position as opposed to someone else, and you can it's a never ending rabbit hole that will just take you deeper into the depths of garbage and depression, and right, because comparison, and I know it's corny, or a lot of people will say it's corny, be like, my only competition is me. But it's the truth, because here's the thing. Our journey is our journey alone. And there's so many little, nuances to every little aspect of our life. And when you get into the spot, and especially in this industry, since we're speaking specifically the entertainment industry, it's too easy and too hard at the same time to compare yourself, because you have no clue what everyone else's step 1, 2, 3, and 4 is, right? You have no clue, that this particular, let's say both you, Prophet, and Farron, you both got albums out at the same time, right? And Prophet, you looking at Farron, and he's over here, he's got 100,000 more streams than you, right? Every day, right? But you don't know that his uncle is so-and-so from da 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 da, right? And
Right.
you know what I mean? He's been doing this for 20 years. He's just seeing this now.
Right.
Like, you didn't see all the nights where he was like, I got 2 streams, 2. That was just my mama and me. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't be, so you don't know all of those things that have been going on. All you're seeing is today he got 100,000 more streams than you, and your friends told you that your song is hotter than his, and it might be, but that ain't got nothing to do with all of the other things that have come along with it, right? And then, you know what I'm saying, like, you don't know, he's looking at you going like, man, I wish I wrote, because any artist that's worth his weight in gold knows that there's always those songs that you go, man, I wish I'd have wrote that one. Every artist has gone through that where you go, like, I remember when Jay-Z came out with Hard Knock Life, right? I was like, man, I wish I'd have thought of that one. When he flipped that little Orphan Annie, man, I was
Orphan
like,
Annie.
Hey, Prophet Link, I want to pass the mic to you real quick on this subject and want you to elaborate. You know, that comparison that we do, and we say that I'm my biggest challenge, or whatever that phrase is that people use. That's really them dealing with their subconscious mind, right? And so when you did the sidestep, you're talking about renewing your heart in all of this work as well. So can you speak to that piece of that conversation about renewing your subconscious mind, how important that is?
Man, so right away when you even mentioned it, J Love, and I was thinking about comparison, I thought of Paul and how Paul got the crazy life hack when he said, I have learned to be content
in everything,
in all circumstances, in all situations, no matter. I've learned to be content because he was assertive and figured out who he was, right? And I think what comparison does, again, you only look at the outer, and I think that's the problem with just society and the evolution, right? Because there's a gift and a curse to every development in life, right? As we know it. And Solomon would say, you know, it's meaningless. It's the chasing after the wind. But it's comparison. Just it goes based off of vanity metrics, and that's the biggest thing that social media thrives off of: fame, success, any aspect of what's perceived as fulfilling purpose is seen as some type of vanity metric. So this quantifies the level of success you have in that, or in this area, or this arena. So my thought about renewal was really, and to quote Paul again, it's like not that I've achieved this, right? Like perfection. I'm still working on this daily, and I still question myself, and I still deal with anxiety. I still deal with doubting myself, and I have to go back into the mirror and reflect upon who God has created me to be. But that renewing, that constant renewing and battling that comparison, is recognizing that everybody's calling is different, right? Even if the lane may seem the same, right? I can't swerve or veer into someone else's lane, and I have to be cautious. I have to be cautious and mindful of people swerving and veering into my lane, because if not, what's going to happen is we're going to crash, right? So one of us is going to crash into the other. So I go by this quote. Like, God revealed this to me years ago, and I kind of run with this, is that if we just stuck to our own lane, we could just take up the whole highway.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I have a question for all of you guys as well. So we're talking about this whole co-comparison. So as a young woman, for me, I'm always, I'd be on social media, on Instagram. It's so hard to fall into that trap of, comparing yourself to, this girl's prettier, or, she's thinner, or they're the same age as me, but look at how much more successful they are. And so it's like so hard to fall into that trap at all times. And I know a lot of other people feel the same way, especially trying to get into this industry, seeing other people's success and then doubting themselves. It's like, well, how do you kind of step away from that? And how do you try to feel like get more value for yourself and be like, this is my own journey, and it's going to take it, not everybody's the same. So
the human being flaw right off the top is the subconscious mind is powerful, but it's designed to survive and look for the lack in life. So it will always look for the lack in your life, always. And that's where some of that comparison comes from, right? So if you're in the survival state of mind, you're looking for what you need, which doesn't allow you to even be content with where you're at right now. And so it takes a lot of personal development. It takes a lot of renewing your heart and understanding, like you said, owning who you are, like being okay with everything that you have. Like you have to be able to own that. And sometimes you got to go back and you got to peel off, sort through your heart. Like where did that come from? Like if you really look, you'd be like that first comparison of I'm not tall enough, I'm not pretty enough. You probably remember where that came from, because it's like a pivotal point in your mind that always reflects to I'm not this. That's what I learned from that.
Well, and even to add to that and what Prophet said, here's one thing that has literally transformed my life and that really helped me get to that place of being content in every moment in every station of life is this. And I say this all the time, is perspective is everything, right? Your perspective will dictate the reality of your life. And I tell people, and I was literally just sharing this with someone today, there's a difference between reality and truth, right? So the example I use is the reality is that once upon a time, globally, but in this country, Black people were considered to be 3/5 of a human being. They weren't even considered a full human. That was the reality. Like there was no lying about that. That was the reality of it, but it wasn't the truth, right? It wasn't the truth. And what happened is because people they chose to pick a perspective that was different than that and say, no, I am somebody, I am a man, or I am a woman, I am important, right? I am. So because they chose a perspective that was higher than what the reality was, eventually, no matter what, I don't care how long it took, how many generations, how many years, how many seasons of people saying, no, you're nothing, you're less than an animal, you're nothing, this is all you're worth. They kept saying, no, that's not the truth. And the best way to describe it is like if you are at ground level and you see an accident, right? You can only see a certain perspective of that accident, right? So from your perspective, everything in what you see is what it is. But if I were to take you and then place you on the roof of an adjacent building where you can see the entire landscape, you would be able to go, oh, I see what happened. See, and that's what happens with us is that we're so close to our own situation. We don't remove ourselves. And to go back to what you said, Prophet, is when you understand your identity and who you are, and I mean, we're going to keep it 100, who created you, you have to know this. Okay. So I'm about to, since we're going there, number one, if anyone out there who believes in this entity called God, right? And you believe that this entity created the universe and everything therein and the galaxies and the solar systems and the stratosphere, then by default, you have to believe that that entity spoke your name. Because that's what he said. He said, I spoke your name. I knew your name before I laid the foundations of the earth. When you understand that literally he said to himself, let us create Lilian in our own image. Like literally the one that looks back at you in the mirror is the very image of God. The breath that you breathe is literally the breath of God. So when you see it from that perspective, see, you can look at it from the perspective of people you went to high school with and the perspective of people that you grew up around in your family. Their perspective is always going to be skewed. But when you look at it from the perspective of the manufacturer, because only the manufacturer can tell you what the purpose of this thing was. So the manufacturer said that, wow, I created you, and said, wow, I created you and took a breath and there were stars in the solar system because of you. When you look at it from that perspective, the pretty, the tall, the skinny, the talented, the success, none of that even matters, because you know you already are fearfully and wonderfully made. You already are perfection, because the very one who spoke the universe into existence spoke your name. Now I know that's a lot. I'm sorry, y'all. I went there with it. You know what I mean?
I ain't gonna debate you.
But my point is that that's what the problem is we lose ourselves from our perspective. We're sitting in our life and in our limitations and in our shortcomings and just the things that go around us. And yes, that's the reality. I acknowledge our reality sometimes sucks, right? But I have to be reminded that I can elevate myself above that and see a different perspective that is outside of reality. It's actually the truth. And the truth is, no matter where I stand today, I'm amazing. No matter, and I don't need you to co-sign that or Prophet to co-sign that or Farron or anyone else. I'm amazing because the creator of the universe said I'm amazing. You know, I can step outside of my situation and maybe, you know, in some certain particular instances, Prophet is more successful than me, I can look at it and go, you know what, brother, I'm proud of you, because your thing is yours and it's just for you, and my thing is for me, whatever that is. You know what I mean? So I can big up you, and it has nothing to do with diminishing me. You feel me? And so I didn't mean to, my bad, I didn't get super deep, you know what I'm saying?
No, that was good. And I think that's the curse of vanity metrics, because it automatically gives a comparison that diminishes your value. And this would be my practical answer to that, and to expound further, even from a spiritual standpoint. But when it comes to social media, and it comes to this is literally what I do. I do analytics, and I'm running numbers, and I'm seeing numbers all day. And I actually work with a cohort of young people where, one cohort where I'm actually teaching them digital marketing and about all of this stuff, how to build campaigns, so on and so forth. And the other cohort, we're building a program together. And they found out I got whatever amount of followers on IG, and they automatically assume, I'm gonna take a picture with you. You're an influencer, so on. So I said, whoa. Don't look at those numbers. This is what's important. And this will be my response and advice to you, Lilian, is, and to anybody watching this that has that same burning question, right? Is when you can bring yourself back, right? And bring yourself back and not be distracted by what the vanity metrics, the numbers, the appearance of what that accolade is, whatever it is, that attribute, right? The tall, the skinnier, the more athletic, the more followers, the more likes, the more comments, the more engagement, whatever it is. If you can remove yourself from that, and then you look at the conversions, right? Looking at your own results, and tie that back into why you were even doing it in the first place, and what your passion and heart is. That's where you get the remotivation, right? And you get that contentment, like, wow, okay, yeah, it's dope. Okay, this got 10,000 views. That's dope. Okay, it got 500, 600 likes. That's dope. But 5 out of all those numbers, 5 people clicked on the link in my bio and subscribed. And now those are people that I have direct connection with and that I can follow up with. Oh, wow, 2 people bought a hoodie of mine, or 2 people downloaded my song that I just released, right? And now they're listening to the message, and they're listening to whatever it is that God gave me to instill to them through that method and through that vehicle. That's where it kind of detaches you from the comparison game all over again, right? And going back to keeping that same energy, it kind of remotivates you to why I was doing this in the first place. Oh, I was doing this. I got on social media is because I realized social media is a vehicle to connect with people in real life, right? And it kind of detaches you from
for me, coming out of the military after all those years and then becoming an advocate for these causes, this Holy Spirit helped me transform my perspective to be the leader of your conversation and not of men. And so when you do that, you find your voice, and you just be your voice. And whoever follows you, whether it's 10 people or 10,000, it's the same energy that you would perform with if it was 10 people or 10,000 people. And if you be honest with who you are and what your voice is about, those who follow you are your genuine people, right? And that's where you could find your level of peace and not compare yourself to other people. It's just find your voice, and when you be that, and those that follow will follow.
And I feel like finding your voice, like, you have to know who you are, and you have to have that self-love, because when you don't have the self-love, I feel like you're always gonna fall into the trap of just like the comparison, because it's like, if you don't truly love who you are inside, then how are you gonna run away from that comparison? You're always gonna want to be someone else. You always want to be something better, and it's like, I just feel like that's an important thing too.
Back to affirmation, where are you getting your affirmation from? Going back to what you were saying, it's like, if you understand who you are and who created you, that removes all the need for affirmation from everywhere else. Now, am I saying you're not going to still struggle with that? No, I'm not saying that at all. It still be a struggle. We are human by nature. We're flawed, right? But it's how you kind of bounce back, and then or take a step back to now reflect and then reimagine yourself, right? It's reimagining, it's the renewal of the mind. That was kind of what Paul was talking about in Romans when he said, don't be conformed to this world, right? Like the worldly system, right? The way the world thinks, the way the world acts, the way the world affirms itself. Don't conform to that, but constantly renew your mind. What is it? Reimagining yourself. Not recreating yourself, because you've already been created, but reimagining, putting it back into perspective. Going back to what Jayla was saying at Farron, like the perspective and being able to be content, and remove yourself.
I want to drop these before we go, Jayla, real quick. I want to drop these. So this is self-love, right? So self-discovery, self-source, self-worth, self-esteem, self-concept, self-identity, and self-value. When you sort those out, you don't need nobody else except for Christ. And those are biblical standpoints.
Well, I say that the one thing I hate about this show is the better the conversation, the faster it goes by. Like, it's crazy. So we got 5 minutes. So real quick, here's my last 2 questions for you. And I'm gonna put up his Instagram for those of y'all, you need to check him out. Those of y'all in the car, it is at Prophet Link on Instagram, PROPHETLINK on Instagram. Need to check out my man's and really, holler at him and bug him and whatever else. So here's the last 2 questions real quick. Number 1, top 5 MCs dead or alive. Go.
Dead or alive. So my number 1, so I hate doing these lists, but my number 1 is 7 of Hog Mob.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Very interesting. Yes.
Okay.
Because he can do it all. He can rap, he can sing, he does hooks, he can kill a verse, and he can worship.
Right.
I'll Wait, his worship album is my favorite album of all time.
Wow.
Everything, right?
Okay.
And I don't think I can honestly order the rest.
No particular order. Just
no particular order. Well, 7 got the top spot, and then everybody else is like a close second, I guess. So some of my favorite artists, oh man, and just creators, I'll say it that way. Creatives are and I'm gonna sound mad biased right now, but it's just the way they put together their art all together. So I'm gonna say easily AI the Anomaly is one of my favorite creators. Sail Out of Corner, I don't understand how you can kill every single verse and you can't really say one verse is better than the last one. You know what I mean? Like it gets better, but it's not like one is better than the last. It's mostly like God Over Money, folks, man. Bumps INF is one of my favorite MCs, lyricists. Before Christ, it would have had to been Eminem, but I let that go and left that at the cross. Amen. They're all Christian artists right now. So Sail Out of Corner, Bizzle is my favorite like parable rapper. That's what I consider him. Like he speaks in parables in a way that's palatable to anybody with any education level. Like he could break it down. He could break the most craziest concept down to the most minute and understandable way. Angie Rose is one of my favorite creatives.
Real quick, shout out Angie Rose. She just got nominated for a Dove Award. So congratulations, Angie.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, we got a minute and a half. So God forbid, but I ask everybody this: if this was the last time people heard your voice, what message would you want to leave them with? If this was the last time you got to say anything to a public audience, what would you want to leave them with?
Amen. Is to look past the cliche sayings that give you the comfort temporarily, but then you don't understand the purpose behind it. Example, point in case, Romans 8:28. Everybody loves saying that. It's very encouraging for the moment. All things work for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. It feels good at the moment, and then when somebody dies, whatever the situation is, those things don't feel the greatest. So I don't want to hear, okay, it's going to work out for my good if it sucks.
Right.
It's the latter part that really fulfills the purpose part of it, right? A called according to his purpose. Well, what's the purpose, God? To be conformed into the image of Christ. So I know everything, all the things that work for my good are going to mold me and shape me so I can be more like Jesus, who is the perfect image of God in the flesh.
Word. Yo, Prophet, we appreciate you, man. We definitely gonna have you back on the show. Make sure you check him out. Instagram, Prophet Link. This is the Revolution Radio Show, man. I'm Jay Love, intern Lilian, my man Farron the Statesman. As always, want to remind you, reach for your best, reach for success, but most of all, reach for God, because God is love and love is everything. We out here.
Oh my.